Hey everyone, this is Hurricane Hal in Galveston, Texas, bringing you your Wednesday morning tropical weather update and some fascinating weather history. Let's go right away to the tropics. Tropical storm Nana has formed. It's south of Cuba, moving to the west, and it's forecast to intensify into a hurricane before striking Belize. We also have tropical storm Omar off the coast of North Carolina, forecast to continue to track to the northeast and not really have any impacts on the U.S. We're also watching two tropical waves coming off of Africa. One has a 30% chance of development and the other a 60% chance of tropical development. So the tropics remain active. We now have 11 consecutive storms that were the earliest development date for their letters. So we name hurricanes starting with A, going to the end of the alphabet. Storms E through O are now the earliest development dates, and the record for P is Tropical Storm Philippe, which formed on September 17th, 2005. So we have about 15 days to break that. This is a record-setting year, and this has a lot to do with these really warm water temperatures in the Gulf, in the Caribbean, and in the Atlantic. And that brings us to some weather history today. You might be saying, hey, Hurricane Hal, why are you not at the beach? We're used to seeing the waves behind you on beautiful Galveston Beach. Instead, I'm more towards downtown. This is a federal building behind me at Rosenberg and Church, or 25th and Church here in Galveston, and there's a lot of weather history that happened right here. You know, the first time in the world that the eye of a hurricane was ever shown on live TV, broadcast on weather radar, happened right here in the federal building in 1961 with Hurricane Carla. You may have heard of a famous news anchorman called Dan Rather. Well, Dan Rather was a Texas guy, grew up in Wharton, Texas, went to Sam Houston State, and he was down here in this building. He worked for KHOU in 1961. He came down to cover Hurricane Carla, and he met up with the Weather Bureau folks right here in the federal building, and he saw this weather radar that was showing the spinning of an eye. No one had really ever seen in real time the eye of a hurricane like that before, and so they broadcast that nationwide. It was the first time that people really in their homes could watch the eye of a hurricane. That helped Dan Rather get discovered, and 2 blinks later, he was the anchorman for the CBS Evening News and a very famous person in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Another interesting thing with the federal building has to do with our long-term weather records here in Galveston. We have the longest weather records continuously west of the Mississippi River. The Weather Bureau, now the National Weather Service, came here in 1871. So this is our 150th year of weather data in Galveston. So we know a lot about the long-term climate trend. As I mentioned before, we're having record-breaking heat. This week, Monday, was the first time that we ever had an overnight low of 87, where the temperature did not drop below 87. Never happened before Monday. We're on Wednesday now. This is the third day in a row it happened. Last year was the first time we ever had overnight lows of 86, and that happened 3 times last year. We keep smashing these records, and that has to do a lot with the warm water temperatures offshore. We get a persistent onshore wind in the summer, and the warm Gulf is driving warm overnight temperatures here, and we know those warmer waters lead to intensifying hurricanes and hurricanes that drop a lot more rain. So a lot of that interesting history can be found here because we have such deep weather records. We can not only observe what's happening in the present, but compare it in context with the past. This is Hurricane Hal. I'm in Galveston. I'm going to keep you guys updated on what's going on in this record-breaking, tropically active year. We expect that we're going to see the month of September continue to be very active, and I'll continue to give you no nonsense, no hype tropical weather coverage. Everybody have a fantastic Wednesday, and thanks for tuning in for a tropical update and a little piece of world weather history.